The following is a talk given by Vernon Howard to an audience of women only.
All right, we'll read the first question, written question. Dear Vernon, at what age does the average man lose interest in sex? At approximately 98. Doesn't that make you a little sad, ladies? Question, is there such a thing as right emotion? Yes. Is there something terribly wrong with a woman who is not interested in sex at all? No, there's nothing wrong with you ladies if you're not interested in sex, but you mustn't be against it. Think of the term conscious indifference. Now, when you're conscious of something, you cannot be for or against it. You simply understand it. There's no self in there to say, oh, sex, I hate it, my husband wants it every night and all that. You're emotionalizing wrongly, aren't you? You've got yourself in the center of the picture. What are you, a martyr? Someone who does all the work and he has all the fun, for example? Let's try the last part again. Is there something terribly wrong with a woman who is not interested in sex at all? No. What are you worried about it for? See, a man is interested in sex actively. That's his role. He's the aggressor, isn't he? Has he chased you? Been chased by men for sex? Of course you have. A woman is interested in sex, but she doesn't want to initiate it. She wants to follow if the man seems right. The trouble is, and we've explained this before, and I'll go into it just a little bit, you don't know how to think toward sex at all. Not knowing how to do it rightly, you think wrongly. And I've given you some examples, and I'll repeat that. If you ladies have ever had sex, there's something in you that said, it definitely said, he has all the fun, and I don't seem to be having any at all. Now, why did you have that attitude? It's because you don't understand that nature made the man sexually emotional. Nature didn't make you sexually emotional at all. You should be indifferent as far as you're concerned. Nothing wrong with giving a man sex. But you shouldn't have a wrong attitude in any way where you worry about it, have any negativity toward it at all. And when you are a pure woman, I'm not talking about morality and purity, when you're 100% woman, then you have a chance to understand that, to have the right attitude toward sex, toward a man. If you're masculine, forget it. If you've got a lot of masculine traits in you, you're going to be very mixed up sexually. You'll never understand it, and you'll always live in resentment toward it. All right, we'll go on. Vernon, you say a man is responsible for himself and the woman with whom he has a relationship. If she is awakened and works to put God first, what is this responsibility for her? Let's try it again. You say a man is responsible for himself and the woman with whom he has a relationship. I've told you 1,000 times your responsibility is to be a woman. You don't get it. I've repeated it over and over, and you refuse it because you would rather think of your role. May I suggest you stop reading romantic novels and watching the soap operas and picking up your cues on how to behave in a romantic situation from them? Now, I don't watch those things myself, but I wonder how they all end. Do they show you the ending with both of them fighting and clawing at each other? Or is it a beautiful romance walking into the sunset together? Is that how they end? I know the novels do. I don't know about the TV soap operas. there happens to be a higher authority for the way you behave toward a man and have a relationship toward a man, a higher authority than some woman who sits at home and writes romances about it and gets royalties from the books and from the scriptwriter of the daytime soap opera. Depends on what you want, and you know it. At the end of that. Dilemma of male-female relationship. Vernon, if all false or mechanical men are worthless in relationships, and if all awakened men have no one special relationship in their life, why are there relationships? When you can ask a clear question, I will answer it and not before. Vernon, I've been with enough men to know they can't give anything, they only take. Let me interrupt, please. How many of you girls went to school? I'm talking about grammar school, junior high, high school. Didn't they teach you how to write a proper sentence? How have you ever heard of a capital letter, a period after a sentence? I have to interpret these notes as I read them. I have to get the grammar right. Now I'll try it again. Vernon, I've been going with enough men to know they can't give anything, period. They only take. I'm going to be in this class for a long time. The question is, will I ever have a relationship with another man besides you, Vernon? Why do you ask a question like that? Why are you putting a relationship with a man before your right relationship to yourself? Every month we come up here, and every month I answer the same questions over and over again. Why don't you want to see what you must see? When I get questions like that, I'm not going to waste my time going over them again. Maybe someday I'll get a good question. Vernon, when a couple are in the work together, is it right for the woman to snap him out of his daydreams? There seems to be resentment in him when I do. Of course it's right. But let me ask you a question. What is your motive for what? Reprimanding him, snapping him out of his hypnotic spell? Do you have any motive outside of wanting to help him? How many ladies have bitterness toward men? You know, they've taken you, they got you into this spot, they got you pregnant, they dragged you into this marriage, and you wish you weren't in it. When I see questions like that, I can see all of you asking a similar question with no sincerity in it at all. You have a lot of nerve telling me that you're so concerned with waking that man up when you don't want to wake up yourself. What colossal nerve. These questions are terrible. They're coming from terrible minds. Now, isn't that a nice lesson? Right now, thoughts about men are number one, stronger than about truth. How did this get turned around? Through being born into this world, and you're coming to this class to crack the pattern. Is it ever right for a woman to take the initiative in pursuing a man? Never. Why do I get scared when I flirt? Because you're afraid you're going to catch him. Right? Part of the answer seems to be fear. Fear of being taken seriously and fear of rejection. I've told you, who gets rejected? Vernon, how can a woman be rightly firm without being a bossy, crabby nag? Let's see the hands of the bossy, crabby nags. How do you bear living with yourself, crabby, bossy, nag? Let me tell you a spiritual rule. What you do unto the man, you do unto ladies, yourself. See, you ladies are intimidators too. I've told you many times, I usually speak from the male viewpoint, because that's what I am. But I can also reverse it, and I'll tell you how I can reverse it right now for you ladies. Boy, do you have a cruel streak in you when it comes to a man. Let's see now, what does he want? He wants sex, of course, all the time. I can play all kind of little tricks. I may give it to him as often as he wants, but I can make him suffer. Now I have an individuality too. Now I can strike back. Now I can get revenge on him. Why do you think that way? When you think that way, this means you're never going to understand or escape his cruelty. How can cruelty understand cruelty? It can't. Now, this is beyond you, what I'm going to say, but so is the stars, but we're heading for them, spiritually speaking. What do you suppose your relationship with an individual man would be if you were an aware, awakened woman? What is it now, you being what you are now, in your present inner condition? Pretty wretched, isn't it? And you wonder why God made it this way. He didn't, you did. God is the author of a right relationship, a good relationship between a man and between a woman. You want him to do his part, why don't you put yours first? You have a lot of nerve thinking you're going to meet a man who's going to be nice to you and going to be right to you when you have no intention of being nice to him. I said you can't have the intention. You can't have the capability for being nice to him. Hands of all women who fear men in one way or another, and every one of you raise your hand, all of you. Is there insight in fear? Then why don't you use these principles to get rid of your hostility toward men, toward your anger toward them, which will come when you get rid of your anger toward yourself, so that you can see a man in a way you've never ever seen him before. You want relief from that man domineering you? You know how it is. When you meet a man for the first time, think back when you've done it. You've met all your lovers and all your husbands, which you ladies have had loads of, and you know you have. I don't think I told the men your secret that you have a lot more boyfriends and husbands than you tell anyone. When you meet a man, and you notice that the very first contact is unpleasant. You wonder what you're getting into, huh? If you give him sex, then how will that give you some kind of advantage, or will give you any advantage at all? Or if you give him sex, are you the type of woman, and you are, type of woman who says silently, it's a silent message, all right, I've given you what you want in the bedroom, now it's my turn. And now you can be cruel, now you can be sarcastic, and you can fight with him. I've given you what you want. Now you're gonna take it. You're gonna suffer like I do. You don't know, ladies, how infantile you are. And you hand me questions like that as if you have the capacity to understand them. You don't have the capacity to get along with a man. What are you talking about meeting a man for? If you meet a man in your condition, it's going to be a repetition of the other men, is it not? When you understand what your responsibility is to wake up, and you wake up, you'll know everything about every single man on the face of this earth, including me. You'll understand me. You don't understand me now. You have a certain attraction because you know I'm telling you the truth, and that part is good. come back to the main principle of first things first. And if you don't put your own insight first, you're just going to have to continue to deceive yourself. And I'll guarantee you ladies, I'll make a prophecy. Now look, you've got a lot of years ahead of you. You listen to what I'm going to say. And then when you see how accurate I am in the prophecy, maybe 10 years from now, you'll stop where you are and stop being stupid toward men. Even if you're all alone, stop thinking wrongly about them. Why do you waste your time thinking about men? Now, don't you tell me it's natural for you to want a man and all that. I'm aware of that. I know that. I'm asking you, I'm telling you, why do you take that and distort it? Why did you get divorced? Why did you leave the boyfriend? How many times? How many boyfriends? You like to silently, please. 10 times? 10 sexes, 10 boyfriends? 2 or 3 husbands? Why did you finally give them up? It wasn't worth it. Why do you think the next one's going to be any different? It isn't. Could it be that indecency in men is merely a reflection of the indecency in me? It doesn't have to be. If a man is crude, if a man has no gentlemanly qualities, why does that necessarily have to be a reflection on you? You know, one of the most surprising, shocking events of life, to meet a man or to meet a woman who's honest, who is a lady, who's gentlemanly, who's grown up, who's adult, who wouldn't steal your money. You want the possibility of attracting a right man? You be so right yourself, he'll look at... Well, that's the first woman I ever met who didn't get mad over this little thing. He'll start to think about you in the right way because he'll be thinking that you know something that he doesn't know. Now, if the man's a bum, which he almost certainly is, then when you act decently, the right thing is going to happen, which is that you're going to repel him. Which is what you want, isn't it? No. In your heart you do, but you're not ruled by that. You're ruled by your maverick mind that always has high hopes that it'll be nicer this time. You can ask out loud questions in a minute if you like. Why are men so rude to women? Now that's not a bad question. You and you and you and you and you ask for it. Now look, ladies, I've told you that men and women can have a spirit that's so strong. The man will sense it the other side of the room. My dear sir, don't you dare talk to me that way. You don't have to say it. If you are the attitude, I guarantee you will sense it across the room. And if he's a bum, he'll go out the door instead of approaching you. But if you're a truly feminine woman who understands things, who understands life, he'll also sense something else different about you. Now, if he has a bit of rightness in him, if he's worn out, if he's had 20 girlfriends, and he's had 10 wives, if he's had that, and he's as tired as you are, he'll be attracted to you. This is right attraction. Because see, in his case too, he's beginning to put what is true before what is sexy. Now you can't continue to go the way you're going and attract a nice man like that. You're so gullible, ladies. You're so stupid. And I said downstairs at the table, you always think that the next man is the exception. I am telling you right now, he is not the exception. No man is the exception. You wouldn't know an exception if you saw one, because there's something too wrong with you to have that perception. You're afraid of man taking advantage of you sexually, for example? There's no way you'll ever be able to understand the man. And by the way, you ever feared, ladies, the man would take advantage of you sexually? No. Sure you have. Your very fear is what attracted that disadvantage toward you. A man looks at a woman. You know what his first question is? Now listen to me, ladies. His first question is, will she or won't she? There it is! You dumb women. What do you think the dinner is for? What do you think the flowers and the dancing is for? He wants to get you back in the bedroom. That's what he wants. See? Now look, come on. You know it. You won't face it. You won't see it. You won't understand it. And so you rationalize going back into the bedroom with him. You rationalize and say, well, that's part of a male-female relationship. You have no business getting involved with a bum. Now you look out at that world and that's all you're going to see. Boy, there's something wrong with you that you want one of those. You know what the word masochism means? You know what it means? Are you connecting it with what we're talking about? You love to be punished. You love to suffer. You love to bawl. You go around crying and telling everyone how mean he was to you, how he yelled at you, how he hit you physically. You stupid woman. Any woman who gets hit physically by a man, ask it and you know it. I've asked you before, have you ever heard of walking away? Ever heard of getting out? But I need him. What you need is a vibration of your own sickness the next time he curses you. Unfortunately, husband and wife and boyfriend and girlfriend, they're all insane. So if the individual is insane, so is the relationship. Will you do a little bit of special self-observation, catching yourself thinking about men, about sex, about romance, thinking about it when it isn't necessary and it isn't necessary. Thought attracts thought. Spirit attracts spirit. Remember how brainless you were at 18? 20? Has it changed any? Not much, huh? All you do is think. All you have is a mind. If you're in love with having any kind of excited sex thoughts or emotions, if you're in love with that, whether you have a man or not, it doesn't make a difference. I'm not talking about whether you have a man or don't have a man. If you're in love with all sorts of sex, romantic thoughts, you're wasting your life. Would you agree that God must have meant something higher from you than to get a man? If it meant for you to get a good man, if that was supposed to be first, how come it's so difficult? Maybe the whole world is violating spiritual laws. And not maybe, but most certainly you are. We'll go on to the last one. Can a man like you for yourself, or is sex all he wants from you? Well, if you get one of these rare men who wants truth more than he wants your little body. If he puts truth first, then you can have a nice sex relationship with him. And I've told you about this a couple years ago. I'll tell you what a right sex relationship is. Casual, relax, please, no John Barrymore and Greta Garbo kisses. I don't know any modern actors or actors, so you fill in the blank spaces on the couch. Go have sex tonight? To her son. Okay. He says, okay. That's all there is to it. So you have sex. It's over. You turn on the TV. Well, this is the way you want it, ladies. Oh, I know you want to be held. What's wrong with that? A man should hold a woman. He should hold her close. And he should pat her head. Have you ever once heard me say there's anything wrong with affection between a man and a woman? In privacy, in the bedroom, quietly, all by themselves. Natural. Prelude maybe to sex. Why do you spoil it all? Now, if you have sex with a man sometime, I give you an instruction. From the very start of it to the very end of it, when it's all over, I want you to notice how you really feel about it. Now, if you are right, that means you will have a right man. You'll have a right man, more or less. Don't expect perfection in this imperfect world. If you get a man who's 1% right, hang on to it. In the very beginning, when he begins to look at you a little bit different, do you know a sex look when you see one, ladies, in his eyes? Oh, it's definitely different. Right? And all of a sudden, I've seen that before. And I know where that leads. From that point on, I want you to see what you are reacting, what your reactions are. How you feel about it honestly, and then how would you react, how would you feel and react toward that man if you didn't want to hold him, keep him in your life? So that you can see the contradiction in you, or you can see, or you're doing something, you're giving him something, you're giving him sex, so that he will give you something back, his companionship or whatever. And I want you to know that that is all wrong. It's just as wrong as you selling your soul for money or for position or security. Truth, God never meant you to be a slave of a man. Now, never mind if he's sick. We're not talking about him. When will you see what your responsibility is to behold yourself? Don't you expect another man to be spiritual for you? You want him to eat your dinner for you? You have to do it yourself. You have to be spiritual for yourself, and only when you do that can you ever attract a good relationship. How many of you ladies have put up, we've talked about women being crabs and bossy. Have you ever lived with a cruel man? Have you had a vicious man in your life? Ladies, please, will you tell me what's wrong with you? Better yet, will you tell yourself what's wrong with you that you would ever endure a clod, a crude man, a vulgar man? A man who doesn't know what it means to be nice, to be considerate. You know very well in that relationship, he didn't know you existed outside of it. This is right. He didn't know you existed outside of a partner in the bedroom or an automatic dishwasher out in the kitchen. Right? You knew that. What a mistake you are making, you stupid women, asking questions like, how can I find a good man? As if you can find one. He's not going to be interested in you. He's going to be interested in your body. How can I get along with a man? You quarrel with yourself all day long, and you have the nerve to ask, how can I get along with a man? I told you. You're sending out right signals, a spiritual signal, and he's on the other side of the room. And you say something, maybe in a conversation you'll say something conscious maybe for the first time in your life. Say a spiritual truth. Oh, is that a decision for him? The minute he hears you say something spiritual, he's going to either have to reject it or accept it, isn't he? If you find that rare man who's really interested in these things, he'll say, what did you say? You know, I've thought about that for years, but the first time I ever heard anyone say anything like that. Where'd you learn that? Now there's a possibility of having a good relationship. Now don't ask me where he is. See, you laughed because you knew that was what you really would like to do. First things first, which would be for you to be in a state where you put your own spiritual integrity, your wholeness, your health before catching a man. Will you agree that you catch what you are? Don't you remember how you were like him and he was like you? No wonder you battled all day long. See, you don't have a strong, you may think you have a strong sex drive, you don't. What you have is a strong mental drive that you mistake for a sex drive. We'll have to stop, but with this. Men are crazy, women are crazy. Now, nutty people inside the insane asylum prove their insanity by writing little dumb notes around to the director of the institution saying, how could I find a nice man in this place? Remember, you're living in a nut house. You're living in a nut house, and so are all the men. Abolish the questions. Don't try to find answers. Get rid of the questions. You're very compulsive. And you're very compulsive and very demanding. You insist that your questions are right ones. Why are men so cruel? Why are you so cruel? If you're secretly crabby and cruel, you'll never meet a man who's not crabby and cruel. You're going to meet you. See how hypocritical you are. There are millions of classes in the world with women in them and men, ranging from probably 10 people in the room in the hall to 5,000. And they're going on all around the world right now, today and tomorrow, and all into the next week. And the man or the woman up in front of these classes of men and women are liars. Being lost themselves, they say lost things. And the people out there, oh, they're so happy to hear it. Ladies, I assure you that if you change the groom of your hair and change your brand of toothpaste, it isn't going to make a difference in your male relationships. You've tried it, haven't you? Well, have you run out of the wrong ways yet? I'm going to leave you with this. You're all going to meet the next man, you know, even at a distance, either close or far. He's wrong for you. You be right and see what comes out of that. We'll have to stop. Yeah.
The following is a talk given by Vernon Howard to an audience of men only.
One function of the human mind, including the male human mind, is imagination. Another function of the mind, including the male human mind, is memory. Memory and imagination are not proper vehicles for sex. But you make it that. Already, I've come close to home, haven't I? Memory, imagination. Memory for the past conquests of the past conquests, right, gentlemen? And imagination for the future ones you hope will occur, right? No wonder you're a wreck. Sexual wreck. Well, aren't you? Of course you are. Aren't you enslaved by it? Aren't you confused by it? Don't you wonder about it? Of course you do. Because you see, in memory, there is a self, correct? Wrongly so. You could have pure memory of sex, in which case you'd be free of it and would never have imagination. But you have memory of past sexual experiences, and you even have a false enjoyment of them because they give you a certain confusion that you like. You know you prefer confusion to clarity. In any way, spiritually, sexually, any way. Even financially, by the way. You don't understand money. You don't understand that it's a false invention of men. Because you want some. Back to sex. Look how memory recalls past romances, loves, marriages, sexual relations with a woman. And look how that in itself becomes an excitement that you want to repeat. Only a little better next time if you can attract the right girl. You foolish, stupid men. Wouldn't you say, just generally speaking, wouldn't you say that any man who torments himself over a woman, there's something batty about him? Wouldn't you say that self-torment is a stupid thing to do? How many women did you lust after this week? It happened today, didn't it? It happened today downstairs, didn't it? You must think I'm stupid. You must think I can't read your mind. You're talking to another man. I know how your minds work. So, we've seen how memory, you've had these past experiences, how they color your present thinking and then go into imagination, and now you're tormented because you're not quite sure what a right sexual experience or right any normal relationship is with a woman. You don't know what it is because you've never had one. Not one of you men out there have ever had a right relationship with a woman. Not one of you. And none of you listening to this cassette tape either. You never have. I don't care if you've been married 50 years. That was a pretty long battleground. Talk about it. World War II only lasted 6 years. The war between the Mr. and Mrs. 50 years. How's that for a prolonged conflict? So look where we've, the marvelous conclusion, the interesting conclusion we've arrived at. That as long as you're thinking about sex, with imagination, with memory in the foremost, as long as you're thinking about it, you're going to be tormented instead of having a natural and good relationship with a woman. How many of you men, I asked the ladies the same question, I'll ask you, how many of you men have ever had big fights with women? Big fights, you know? Nice, Niagara Falls for a couple days, honeymoon, huh? Then the big battle. The better you knew each other, the more you hated each other. Why'd you get mixed up with her in the first place? Well, I'll tell you why. Because she's a female. She had something that you wanted. That's the only reason, and you know it and I know it. And you brought this lust for what she has, getting her back in the bedroom. You brought that into the relationship. What did you expect it to do but degenerate? And for you to battle and to hate each other. What did you expect when that is what you are? And she, of course, played the same little game you did. See, isn't it pathetic, gentlemen, that the man goes into the relationship with a woman, the woman goes into the relationship with a man, each of them hoping that the other one is better than he or she is. And after a few days you vow that each is worse than the other, if you can figure that out. So no wonder you've never had a nice, pleasant, relaxed, yes, including a sexual relationship with a woman, because there's so much wrong with you. What are you going to do about it? I'll tell you something. You're not going to hear me. You don't want to hear me. You get too much sexual passion in you that speaks louder than what I'm saying to you. You'd rather listen to that than the truth that I'm giving you. Want to have a nice relationship with every woman on earth, whether she's 10 or 80 and every age in between? Want to have a perfect relationship with every woman? You be right. You put God before your mental pictures of getting her back there in the woods somewhere with a blanket. I'm telling you, you had better listen to me. You'd better cut out those sex scenes that you put up in your mind all the time. You don't have to nod your head. I know you have them. You're driving the car, you don't know what to do. You see the pretty girl walking along the highway there. Life, gentlemen, if it shocks you, then let it shock you. Life gives you an occupation higher than thinking about women all the time. And that occupation is called getting rid of you and everything that has gone wrong with you, that has been wrong with you in the past. Now, there it is. Now watch how you fight it, because you think you know better. You don't know better. All you know is your madness, sexual and otherwise. I'll tell you your problem. You don't have a conscience. Aren't you mean to the woman? You take 2 or 3 days, to pass yourself off as nice so that she'll yield to you. And then because you know, no actor can play a role endlessly, can he? He gets tired of it. You can hardly wait to get off stage and take off the costume and the mask. It's too bad that you're not a nice man. It's too bad. It's too bad that you have failed yourself. Therefore, you fail that woman. Do you want to have a right feeling sometime? For the first time in your wretched little life, you don't know what a right feeling is. None of you. I'll give you an example of a right feeling. When you're a real man, when you're a decent man, when you're a strong man, then anything you do toward a woman is right, and she will sense it, and she will love you. She is not loving your stupid human personality, which is what you want. You want that woman to be attracted to you. You're 5'10", and you have black hair, and you're 30 years old, and you can talk well, and you make a lot of money. You want her to love that, and you'll slap her down 3 days after the first sex, right? Do you want to be right toward a woman? Let me tell you how you can do it. And at the same time, get a unique feeling toward yourself. Be a man, not a thinker. Don't think. Be a man. Be conscious. Be whole. Be awake. That is your reward, not the woman. You take women as your reward for being a phony. You hypocrites. You prefer a sexual climax over eternity. Now you just let that sink in a little bit. You don't know how low you are. I do. And the woman senses it. And that poor woman, thinking she has to settle for you, yields herself to you and gets betrayed every time. Betrayed by your memories, by your lust, by your wish to hit and run. You know what I'm talking about? Hit and run. You've done it enough times, you ought to know. Are you going to continue, whatever your age is now, whether you're 18 or 80, are you going to continue to let wrong sex, wrong romance, wrong relationships to a woman, or are you going to continue to allow that to dominate your life and therefore wreck your life and hers too? Or, by the help of God Almighty, are you going to begin to try to understand what it means to be a man as God intended you to be? You're not now. You're born undeveloped, but you can develop, you can grow, you can understand. But you and your stupidity, you want to fight. You know more than God himself, you stupid egotists. You vicious animals. She came to you wanting protection, and you are the very one who became the danger to her. She didn't know. Not that she's innocent, but she's unknowing. She doesn't understand. And she came to you hoping that you would be strong, and you lied to her. There is nothing lower than that, I am telling you, than to lie to a woman to get sex from her. And you've all done it, haven't you? You know how you lied. Your very false nature was a lie. You smiled a lot. You brought her candy. You agreed with her when she was wrong, which shows what a hypocrite you are as well. And having destroyed your own life up to that point by being false, you now destroyed her. How do you feel, gentlemen? Think back to the girl. Go ahead, think back to her. You know her name. What's her name? To yourself. More than that. You know their names. What's their names? Remember what you did? How shameful. The whole thing can stop right now. You punished that woman in that relationship because you first punished yourself. Because you didn't know what to do with yourself, and you didn't know what to do with her. They go together, don't they? Now you can know what to do with yourself here on this earth, and it's given to you 4 times a week here, which is to develop, which is to grow. To listen to this one. What you can do is no longer hate truth and love yourself. Love your lying self. Well, you understand. I think you may have the intelligence to understand. We're talking about spiritual things, not about sexual things. If you put the spiritual first, you'll understand the sexual. If you try to understand the sexual without understanding the spiritual, you won't understand either. If your mind is clear about what it's all about. For example, you being a man instead of a little mama's boy. See, I use that phrase all the time, and I still see mama's boys. I say it all the time, and I still see you out there. I see you contemptible cowards. That's what you are if you can't be good to a woman. Don't you know why I keep my distance from you? Psychological distance? Which is very easy, by the way. You know very well you have no close relationship with me. Not one of you men in this room. And the more destructive you are of a woman, the less you want to do with me. The more you have committed life suicide, the less you want to do with me or with this class or with the truth. It all goes together. See what a different picture we have now? We could come in here and I guarantee you we're not going to come in here like the stupid psychologists and psychiatrists do and have little mechanical rules about how to behave sexually, arouse the woman and stupid things like that, as if you care about the woman. All you care about is your quick thrill. We're talking about being sexually sick because you were first spiritually sick. If you're spiritually healthy, you will then be sexually healthy. And never again, gentlemen, will you ever be a danger to a woman as you are now. No wonder they're suspicious of you. She has a right to be suspicious. Just look at you. It shows. It shows in your face and what you talk about. Take any pretty woman. You're looking at her in this room or the room downstairs. You're looking at her and she's walking by and she catches your glance. She knows all about you, just the way you look. And your looks are pretty pathetic. She's not that dumb, gentlemen. She knows why you're looking at her. Do you think she could love a man like that? She's looking for a man. And you refuse to be one. And you have a lot of nerve, a lot of audacity in going out and try to pick up a woman either for marriage or an affair, going out and having a good, nice, pleasant, normal, natural relationship with you. You're not capable of having one with yourself. What's the matter with you? I'm going to tell you something incredible. You dumb men. You weak. I wish I could think of the right words to describe you. You want that woman. You want that woman to fulfill something in you that you don't have and you don't want to get for yourself from God. And what you want is the thrill, the sex climax, the flattery, the submission to you. That's what you want. I don't understand how you can bear it to live with yourself. You can't live with yourself, and yet you expect her to admire you as a hero. Everything starts with the spiritual. That's what must come first. But if you're living only from your intellect, you will say, I already am. I understand these things. And then you'll go into fantastic, insane lies. The reason I can't find a woman, look at your lies. How many do you have? 10, 20, 30? Because I'm too intelligent for her, or all they want is my money. You'll find something. You'll do anything to avoid your own emptiness. And that is what you want to give to her, your emptiness. This means you are stupid. This means you're unspiritual. This means you're unpleasant. This means you're useless. This means you're unnecessary. This means that you're wasting your life here on earth. Are you going to continue with that? Or are you going to use these classes that we have 4 times a week? Or are you going to use these classes to get on to yourself? To see how treacherous you have been? All right. I ask you to look back. Do it again now. Remember how treacherous you were? Remember how you hurt her and how much pride and pleasure you got in making her cry? When you arrive, if you arrive at the point where you can look back at your relationships with those women in the past, and you can clasp your hands to your head like that, and you say, could I have been that vicious? If you say, could I have been that vicious, and answer yes, you've turned in a new direction. But you lie, and let me tell you, there is no hope for liars. Why do you think I keep you at a distance? You men, I'll tell you something. You're wasting me. You don't know how you're wasting what I could give you, what I could teach you, what I could tell you. But since you're a God unto yourself, why do you need anything from me? Why do you need the truth I could give you? You're a God unto yourself. You know what it's all about. Some of you devils even sneer in this room. And I know you. I know the parts of you that sneer. Thank God. The right parts in any man don't have to have anything to do with the wrong parts in any other man or in any woman. Ever been taken by a woman? Men? Deceived? What they get? Your time, your money. They had your name for a while, right? And then she was cruel to you, right? Who asked for it? I don't even have to go into that. You should know that. You were the cause of all the trouble. Because you lived in daydreams and beautiful romantic dreams of what it's going to be like. Just because she was physically attractive and you could hardly wait for the first night in the bedroom. You know the test of whether you're decent to a woman or not? Well, let's see. You had sex the first time. It's okay, pretty good. And then the second time, a few days later, then you had sex again with her 5 times, a relationship went on. Had sex with her 20 times, had sex with her 50 times, had sex with her 100 times. If after the 20th time, let's say, it varies. If after the 20th time, if you still like her, there's possibilities. Remember what I talked about, hit and run? You understand that? You keep a scorecard, some of you men? At least in your mind? May God have mercy on your soul. To love a woman means to love truth first. Means to love the real reason that you're here on this earth first. We won't be able to take questions this time because our time is up. We'll perhaps do that next time. And that's the end of the meeting.